Hey traders, Nick here, recapping the week ending. I can't believe it. It seems like just yesterday I did the recap for last week. 525. Times fly by. Okay, the day is still ongoing. I just wanted to recap early so we can trade. The markets were a little bit higher earlier today, and now they're swooning, so they're mixed. I think the Nasdaq's still red. The other ones are slightly, Nasdaq is green. The other one's slightly red. But, VIX is up 3 or something percent, but still around 13. But I think that's a bogus number because, in my opinion, when Netflix keeps setting higher highs, and I believe today it set another high, Apple is close to its all-time high, FANG is close to all-time high, and that's a massive amount of market cap. FANG is four stocks, 5 tickers. You've got Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google has 2 tickers. Each one worth whatever you think it's worth on one of them. So it's a huge portion of, quote, the market. And the small caps set a new all-time high this week, and that's even, 2,000 stocks. All right. So having said that, I don't think that the level of fear now in the VIX as displayed by the VIX is really representative of what real fear is. Having said that, the day is reddish green, but still ongoing. So what's the story today? It's this, the dip in oil. You're going to think I'm crazy. This is way too big for it not to affect the markets, and let me walk you through the logic. Okay, you're with me now? All right, so a 4% dip in oil overnight is because, first of all, we thought that OPEC had turned negative on oil prices because it has a sweet zone where it doesn't lose market share, yet it continues to profit higher. They break even very low on the industry, not the overall budgetary issues within their countries. So some of them need $200 oil in order to break even after they fund their governments. But like Saudi Arabia probably is closer to 70. I don't know. I'm guesstimating. I think there are a couple of countries, the lowest are around 40. But the pumping, they break even probably at 10, if not lower. But they have to fund schools, medicine, everything. So an oil drop is perceived in the market, now I'm saying perception, in the market as inflation relief. So the Fed said in their statement, they're looking at inflation. They can accept it higher because of this transitory oil pressures, that it's temporary, it's not going to last. And they were right. Boom, gone. So now the prices at the pump and the prices that hit the P&L is gone. So there's no reason for the Fed to, this is one less reason the Fed that causes the Fed to raise rates faster than it thought. So relief on the inflation means lower rates, means higher bonds, means lower stocks. That's as simple as that. I know it's convoluted, but trust me, this had a lot to do with it. So aside from that concept I just told you, mathematically, okay, you've got the energy sector falling like crazy. We'll look at a few stocks. I bet you they'd be red. I haven't checked, but let's look at the XLE, which is one, boom. So that's a representation of all of them. Exxon is in there. Chevron is in there. So these stocks dropping, they're dropping the Dow. They're dropping the S&P, whatever index they're in, whatever ETF they're in. So collectively, it's a good size. They say it's not that big. It's big. But the other part, remember I said rates drop? Well, that affects the XLF. So the XLF is red 0.55. We're saying, well, it's not that big. That's because they're already slim. You saw my video. There's not much fat to lose off the XLF. But that's 20 or 25% of the market. Depends on which index you're looking at. So combine that with the energy sector down. That's a lot of pressure to offset FANG. And let's look at FANG. So FANG is green today, but it's the greenery is offset. By the way, this is a potential, if they break this, they can get to that on just a higher low, knocking on roof. That's a side note. Okay, so the day is reddish, challenge. We don't know how it's going to end up. The week is mixed. If you look at the SPY candle, it's probably red for the week. You look at the Qs, it's probably green for the week. You look at the IWM, which is probably red for the week, but after setting an all-time high. So I don't give that win to the bears by any means. And VIX is now below 13 or thereabouts. So the bulls are in control somewhat without headlines. Speaking of which, brings me to next week. Headlines. The first headline, and I'm not going to look beyond it. I'll update us on whatever comes next week after that, later. It's a short week. My opinion, short weeks always bring drama. Every time I've had a major issue, it's in a short week. So I don't try to trade the short week with the weeklies for that week. I don't sell spreads into that week that expire for it. Personal preference. Tuesday, we open in the U.S. However, we see what happens overseas for Monday. So I hear that Wilbur Ross is going to China over Saturday. We're going to have a headline from that. I saw some rhetoric today out of North Korea and China that were kind of nicey again. So maybe that one person that said something bad from North Korea about Mike Pence, maybe he or she has been reprimanded, and now we're back on track. I just don't see, there's so much on the line, I just don't see these big heads actually messing it up. They're going to play nice. They're negotiating, and the headline is still the same. With that new headline, I expect an up move on Tuesday, unless the headline is like, oh my God, we met. There's no way we're gonna come to a conclusion here. So dips are buyable for now. Speaking of dips, we had a lot of good trades that were real good winners. Off the top of my head, I'm looking at Kohl's, I don't know, Teva. Netflix was a huge win. Okay, Netflix came pretty fast, hit the target. I think higher prices are coming. I'm still long. I trimmed a lot, but I'm still long. I'll write it up and for the premium members, so you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Rig, we played it perfectly on the way up. I set 14 or bust. Look at that, double tap on 14. And then recently I said, let's short it. Paid huge, hit my target. But I know now I see a different scenario. I'll write it up. Now there's another scenario that can play out for even bigger potential. So we shall see. I'll share it in writing. All right. And also the oil trade, I can't go long oil here. I just can't do it. OPEC is an enemy until they said, I think they have a meeting, and I think it'll be under pressure until that meeting, and maybe we get a relief pop on that meeting. All right. So, airlines. The drop in oil helps airlines. So yesterday I shared a few long trades in airlines. I think Love was one. DAL was one. Boom. Paid instantaneously. Here we are today, hugely up. I personally profited from it. I trimmed mine just because of my personal portfolio. I don't want to be long too many things. Plus, if oil drops, it could fall. But this is a pretty bullish chart. So the breakout is ongoing. Where's the target? I don't know, 57. So if they clear this, which is where they're trying to, I may re-engage if I see a breakout from here to get to that. And then I would book. So that's the thought. There you go. Baidu finally catching a bid, been under pressure. Teva was a win, and IYT was the biggest win because it was under pressure on that red candle. That was a trade we took a while back, and not a while, recently. Chasing this. Markets have been stumbling, and today's move, if I have profits, I book them. Personally, I did leave it early, so shame on me, but I know other people probably didn't. All right, so this is it. Apple, there's a scenario I will share in writing in Apple. It includes potential upside, but potential downside. So I'll explain it in writing and with pictures. All right, Nick signing out again. I'm practicing what I preach every morning. I say I'm booking profits where I'm getting them. I am booking them where I'm getting them. Oh, this morning, unfortunately, I could not write it up. Roku caught a headline and rocketed higher. Somebody in the chat room, Sarah, thank you very much. She said, hey, check out Roku, it just had a headline. And I usually don't chase headline, but then I looked at it, I looked at the volume profile, it looked like it had a lot more to go after the 3% rocket ride, and we jumped on it and we caught the next 4% higher. So it's right now 7.5% higher, but there is a scenario that gets it to 42, but they have to get that, they have to break that. Okay, so technically speaking, this is a freebie for everybody. Technically speaking, you know, when you see something come down, take some time to get back up, and then it looks like a cup and handle, probably not a perfect cup and handle, but all I see is they're testing this neckline. They failed here. They did better here, so they didn't take that long to get back at it. So now they have oomph behind them. So if Tuesday is an up market day, I bet you it'll be at 42 in the next few days. I personally took some longs, booked some profits, but I'm staying long for that 42. This was a lucky trade inside the chat room. I will share it in writing just as an informational purpose thing, but it was too late to just send out a notice or anything. It's still ongoing, but I told you what the next trigger would be. It needs to rise above that number. I think it was like, let's call it 39, maybe 38.90 or something like that. Today it peaked over it, but I need an emphatic close above it. All right. Nick signing out. If you have any questions, let me know.